All right, great. Thank you, Maggie, and thank you, Vivian. And welcome everyone for joining us to our NEPA Gives 2021 kickoff event. My name is Laura Duchessi, and I'm President and CEO of the Scranton Area Community Foundation. And the Scranton Area Foundation is thrilled to be able to host NEPA Gives again this year. It was a very successful 2020 where we kicked off NEPA Gives for our first year. And we're thrilled to have the same fantastic community foundation and organizational partners joining us this year, and a new community foundation joining us this year. So we're reaching over 5 counties in northeastern Pennsylvania with 2021's NEPA Give, which will be held on June 4th this year. And that means we have less than 5 months to get ready. And if we want to make it as successful or more successful as it was last year, which was pretty great with over 167 organizations, I believe, participating, raising nearly $540,000. There's no time like the present to get started. And that's why we're having our kickoff event today. So just a couple of housekeeping things to remember. You've heard Maggie refer to the difference between webinar attendees and panelists. And so most of us on this call that aren't presenting are logged in as webinar attendees. So that's important to know, just because you won't be able to see other attendees, but you'll only see the presenters. I think we have over 200 people logged on for this webinar, which tells us that we're going to even have a bigger and better NEPA Gives this year. And also for those that have to jump off this call or want to share the information with other people, please note that the webinar will be recorded and will be posted on our main site, nepagives.org. Also, throughout our time together, if you have any questions, any comments that are going to come up, it's great to see they're already coming up, and that's what this is all about, interactivity. Please feel free to enter them into the chat box. Our team is going to be monitoring that chat box throughout the hour. Okay, so now we're gonna go through a little bit of what we can expect for the next hour. Okay, so what we're going to hear today is we're going to get the chance to get a brief recap of NEPA Gives 2020. And when we think about it, some of us on this webinar today have experienced NEPA Give 2020. Maybe you successfully raised funds, maybe you started the process, but know that you want to advance it this year, and maybe some of you are brand new to it. So this is just going to be a recap of some of the successes, and for those that are new to it, it'll be a brand new introduction. We're also going to hear from our community foundation and organizational partners today that are going to talk about, why they're championing and a part of NEPA Gives. And, it's truly a regional effort. We're coming together in new and creative ways this year. We have something brand new to announce, which we're excited about, which is a regional giving pool. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we'll move into why NEPA Gives, why is it important? Why is it something you might want to consider participating in? What's the value to your organization? What you can expect this year in 2021, both from the partners and the participants, and what we hope to bring to it in terms of training, webinars, ways to make us all more successful. What kind of incentives, what kind of matches we might be able to look forward, and then plenty of time for Q&A. So with
Laura,
that,
I'm going to pause really quick. We're having some people are having a challenge joining, so we're going to see if we could switch to going live onto Facebook to accommodate everybody. So we're just going to pause for one moment.
Okay.
It is a great problem to have, Laura, and our partners, because our capacity is only 100 and we have well over 200 people registered for today's webinar, which is wonderful. I'm excited. But we want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered and gets all the information they need to kick off this event.
It's a good problem for year two to have that level. I think while people are waiting, I'll say that, one of the interesting things that we learned as a region is that, the average giving day for a region our size in the first year raises about $100,000. And together, we raised nearly 550,000 in the first year. So it is a good problem to have when there's that level of interest and commitment.
Okay, we are live now on YouTube, actually. So I'm going to share out, we'll share that link out to everybody who wants to be able to join but can't sign into the webinar.
Great. Thanks, Maggie. And for those joining us on YouTube, thanks for joining us. We were saying it's a good problem to have when we have this level of interest and commitment to a regional giving day. So one of the good things is, if you missed the beginning and you missed some of the housekeeping points, I'll remind us that, this webinar is going to be recorded and it's going to be posted on nepagives.org. So if you missed any of the beginning information and you want to make sure you're keeping up to speed, you can just go right on there and get all the information that you may have missed. And remember, if you have any questions, any comments at all, there is a chat box. Hopefully you'll be able to access that. And I'm sure, because we have a committed team to this at the Scranton Area Foundation, they'll be monitoring any site that you're on, I think. So if there's a little more information that they want to tell you about, that they will, our team, Maggie and Vivian, just to make sure that everyone can ask the questions that they want. So we covered a little bit about what we're looking forward to over the webinar in the next hour, or a little less than an hour right now. But just to remember, at the end, we're going to reserve about 15 minutes for Q&A. Okay. So with that, I'm going to turn it over for a little recap on what the hype was all about for NEPA Gives in 2020. Some of the highlights and words from some of our NEPA Gives champions.
Sorry, I'm having difficulties here. Almost back there. Hold on. I'm working on the audio in 1 minute. I know I saw some people can't hear it.
Another option could be, if we need a little time to get the video up to speed, that we could move right into introductions from our partners.
That would be wonderful. So I will not, I'll
Great.
unshare my screen, and then we could have our partners.
Okay, we'll have plenty of time for the recap of the video and hearing the highlights and why everyone should participate. But in the interim, it's really important for us to know who's a part of championing NEPA Gives. It's not just the Scranton Area Community Foundation, it's our partnering agencies. And I'm not going to announce or welcome everybody one by one, but I just want folks to know we're going to hear from the Luzerne Foundation. We're going to hear from Diane Dutko. We're going to hear from Athena Ardwig from the Nonprofit and Community Assistance Center. We're going to hear from Ryan Jennings from the Wayne County Community Foundation, Lenore Rogan from the Greater Pike Community Foundation, and Sharon Alexander from the Carbon County Community Foundation. And it's the first year that Carbon County is joining us. So can't wait to hear our welcome from our partners. Let's first hear from Diane. I think you're on mute, Diane. Maybe it's our job to take you off mute.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to, it's an exciting day, and why NEPA Gives for the Luzerne Foundation is, it's tough out there for charities to make ends meet in light of COVID. And last year was really a test. I think we all entered in not really sure, but look at the outcome. This year, there are still some challenges, but what an opportunity for every charity to participate in something like this. It's bigger than all of us. And as we see, we've grown with a new partner being the Carbon County Community Foundation. But this is looking to be a great regional event, and we're honored to participate. We're thrilled to come alongside the Luzerne County charities and help them, however, and participate in something larger than ourselves. So.
Thanks so much, Diane. We're thrilled to have the Luzerne Foundation as a partner. I think next we're going to hear from Athena Ardwig from the Nonprofit and Community Assistance Center.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Athena, and on behalf of Kurt Bauman, who I'm sure many know with his long history here at the Nonprofit and Community Assistance Center, we are super excited. Last year and the years before, it was such an awesome initiative for the region. Certainly as an entity focused on preserving our nonprofit sector, our opportunities for growth, this is aligns just directly with what we're hoping to do. So in the sense of being able to help the nonprofits further increase your donors, provide more fundraising mechanisms for you, this is something we can't support enough. We've seen just awesome feedback from the nonprofits in the past few years, I think. And so we are grateful to be here. And if there's anything that we can do for the nonprofits, aside from what we do as a team here, please don't hesitate to reach out to Kurt and I. We're happy to do that.
Thank you, Athena. It's terrific to have NCAC as a part of this to make sure that we're having the best type of trainings that's available to maximize NEPA Gives. And next, I'd like to welcome Ryan Jennings, who's head of the Wayne County Community Foundation.
Thank you, Laura, and thanks to your team for putting this together. We're thrilled to be participating again this year in NEPA Gives. I echo Athena's sentiments that this is a really valuable training opportunity for all of us to participate in, especially smaller organizations that might not have marketing staff, and their volunteers, their board, their staff can really learn a lot about online giving. Nonprofit fundraising has completely shifted in the past calendar year, and we're all having to adapt to that. And this is one way to efficiently and effectively fundraise for your nonprofit. So I urge you to participate in all the trainings. We're thrilled to be part of this because it's really a coalition of nonprofits that are all coming together to highlight the work that they're doing, and it creates a really fun atmosphere that's not competitive. Well, there's a little bit of fun competition, but for the most part, it's everybody pulling together to highlight nonprofits in Northeastern Pennsylvania. So welcome, and for those of you that serve Wayne County or are nonprofits in Wayne County, feel free to reach out to me at any time with any questions, and I'll do my best to answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. And now we're going to hear from Lenore Rogan, who's from the Greater Pike Community Foundation.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody. It's nice to see everybody today. I'm Lenore Rogan. I'm from Greater Pike Community Foundation. Our executive director, Jenny Hamill, couldn't be here today, but I know that she is committed to making this NEPA Gives a success for our region and for the Greater Pike region and the NEPA region. We were excited last year. We're even more excited this year. I'm actually originally a Lackawanna County girl. And when I used to think about Pike County, I thought about, the woods and the streams and the rivers and the camping and the hiking and the hunting and the fishing. But now living here, I realized that all those things about Pike County are true, but that what turns Pike County from a place into a real community are the nonprofits that use their commitment and their creativity and their compassion to kind of weave all of that stuff together into something that holds together. And so I'm really happy and proud to be a part of the Pike County nonprofit community, and I look forward to helping the nonprofits who are here from Pike County in any way that I can moving forward. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Lenore. And last, but certainly not least, I'm going to welcome Sharon Alexander, head of the Carbon County Community Foundation. We're thrilled to have with us this year.
Hi, thank you. Yes. So we, the Carbon County Community Foundation was in a little bit of a transition period when the planning for NEPA Gives was taking place last year. I joined the foundation in April. So we weren't able to participate, but I did watch on NEPA Gives Day last year and saw all the donations coming in and just the great work by the community and the nonprofits. So we're excited to participate this year. I'm excited to get our Carbon County organizations involved and our business partners as well. So same thing, if any of the Carbon County nonprofits or organizations have any questions, please feel free to consider me a resource and reach out and I'll help as best as I can. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to have such a team of committed partners that could all be great points of contact for everyone involved with NEPA Gives. So I think now we're ready to go back to understanding what exactly all the hype is about NEPA Gives and hear a little bit about 2020. Are we ready, Vivian?
We are. Just 1 minute because I have to go. And I want to say thank you to Sharon, who shared with me how to share my computer sound. So again, we're one great team here in NEPA. So here we go. Let me just restart this then. There we go.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Mackey. I am a board member and grant writer for Equines for Freedom. Last year, I had the opportunity to coordinate the campaign for the NEPA Gives for our organization. We set a goal of $5,000 that we thought was achievable and ambitious. Yet, with the creativity, support, teamwork from NEPA Gives, we ended up being the #1 fundraiser. We raised over $41,000 with 107 donors in just 24 hours. Last year was a magnificently challenging year due to the pandemic. And without the opportunity of NEPA Gives, we would not have achieved our goals and not had the hope and success that we did. We are looking forward to joining you at the NEPA Gives 2021 campaign and hope that you achieve your goals as we did. Good luck.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandy Snyder from the Diocese of Scranton. I just wanted to say how excited we all are about NEPA Gives 2021 and how grateful we were and still are for NEPA Gives 2020. To the Scranton Area Foundation, to all of its foundation and community partners, and to our dedicated and loyal donors, thank you so much for all you did to help us raise such critical funds for so many important causes during these turbulent times. On behalf of Catholic Social Services its food kitchens, its pantries and shelters, on behalf of our Catholic school system and the diocese itself. Thank you so very much. We can't wait to see you all again in June.
Hey, it's Jesse Ergott from NeighborWorks Northeastern Pennsylvania, and we are so excited to participate in year 2 of NEPA Gives Day this June. A quick thank you to Scranton Area Community Foundation and all of the partners and sponsors who are helping make this event possible. We also want to send a shout out to our nonprofit colleagues who are participating this year. We know we're stronger together than we are apart. The more of us who participate, the more attention this is going to get, the more resources that are going to be raised for all of our missions. So we hope to see you there and hope that you're participating as well. Again, thanks again for this opportunity. We can't wait for the event.
Okay, and those were 3 of our, what we consider NEPA Gives champions, if you would, that spoke to us. And I want to thank them for letting me helm them for a message to you all. Laura, did you want to say anything before we get into the nitty gritty of it?
No, I think what I'll say is we heard from some of our champions, like you said, and I think, when you look at each of how these organizations really capitalized on NEPA Gives, they each had, unique strategies or approached it in different ways with their boards or their staff and the community. And I think it's great to be able to learn from these best practices and successes. I know you're going to take us through a little bit more about some of these successes and strategies with the nitty gritty. I'm particularly excited to talk a little bit about how the incentives might work this year, because I think that that's sometimes the most exciting part. So that's all I have to say.
Great. So, and when I get to the incentives, please, Team NEPA, please jump in. So what is NEPA Gives? I know there was a question in the Q&A. NEPA Gives is a 24-hour online fundraising event. Some of you may have heard of Giving Tuesday. It's along those same lines. It's, really around getting around our community as we unite and promote a growing culture of philanthropy, local philanthropy, that is. It's technology driven, so all aspects are handled online, with social media playing a crucial role in all of this. You'll see the big logo on the bottom, GiveGab. They are our platform that we used in year 1, and we will use in year 2 as well. And how it works really is you, as your organization, register and you solicit and you raise peer-to-peer solicitations. Here you'll see share on social media about NEPA Gives 2021 on June 4th. And all donations that are made to your organization. We'll have additional trainings to show and really navigate GiveGab. However, once you get onto nepagives.org, you'll be able to search your organization and make a donation right to that organization. So it's not a shared pool of, the 540,000. As you know and saw, our great team at Equines for Freedom raised $41,000, and it was all theirs. So it was a great thing to watch. As we just talked about, NEPA Gives raised just over $500,000 last year in year 1. And Laura mentioned that most organizations our size in year 1 raise about 100 to 200,000. So NEPA really pulled together last year, and it was exciting to watch. We had just under 4,200 gifts made throughout the day. And you'll see some of the statistics here on the right. That you can always share with your board. And this presentation will also be available for you guys to have. But for every $100 an organization raised, it only costs them $1.20. So I think someone asked what additional fees outside of the registration is there. There really aren't any additional fees per se. Any kind of fees associated with a fundraiser that you may host would be that. So roughly it would be $1.20 for every $100. Organizations took home roughly 98.8% of its intended donations. There is an option, because it is online for the credit cards, that the donor can either include it in their donation or have it taken out of their, it will come out of their donation when we tally your total at the end of the day. Average organizations raised just over $3,200, with having about 7 new donors per organization. And 145 had at least 1 new donor. And that was just self-reported. So this year with year 2, we'll be able to better track that with data and compare donors from year 1 to year 2 for everybody. But it was a self-reported when the donor made the donation, if they had donated in the past. So the benefits for, why NEPA Gives, why should you all take the time here to participate and really, really get excited and stoked about it. You can leverage your team's efforts by capitalizing on the energy, the publicity of a bigger campaign. So all of the partners that you just heard from are going to put it out there. We put it out there, and it's just a very exciting day for NEPA. So you will be able to grow your exposure just by being part of that, along with amplifying the impact, amplifying through all forms of media, social media, to be part of it, to hashtag and whatnot. It's also an incredible opportunity to tell your story, inspire others, connect to your audience, connect to your donors, get them more involved in promoting NEPA Gives, make it fun, have them reach out to other people. You'll also be able to leverage technology and online resources and trainings. So this is purely on, it's a web-based program. And for some of us that might not necessarily have all the skill set with technology, this is a great time to learn that, to even harness it after NEPA Gives, to be able to utilize those skills that you're going to learn through this period in your own organization, to have additional online fundraising, to now learn how to navigate social media. We'll have a multitude of trainings this year, so we hope you all take advantage of those that, like I said, can go far past NEPA Gives. And then it also encourages a strong messaging of collaboration. So as you see here, the 6 community foundations and NCAC are a team in this effort. We meet monthly, we talk about everything, and it really shows a sense of unity through NEPA. And that's one thing I think as we emerge out of COVID, we're really going to have to rely on each other. So it's going to be a great way to get that message across to your donors and supporters. So as you all heard, Gretchen Mackey, and she's very, very, I don't know the word, but to have a goal of $5,000 and raise 40, she's very modest in what she did to maximize her input, and is a great example of that. So how you can maximize your input, or maybe in year 1, we were all right in COVID. Maybe some of you didn't understand necessarily NEPA Gives or GiveGab. So we'll do a couple trainings or focus some time on maximizing and supporting maximizing your input. But here are some basic ways. So it allows you to communicate more, include supporters in your giving plans. As I said, re-engage with past supporters. Maybe there's a couple that you haven't been engaged with because of COVID. This is a great way to bring them in, have them participate in NEPA Gives, really engage with them, take their ideas and run with them. There's really no mark that you can go wrong with this. It's about time and effort, not necessarily dollars dedicated to this cause. Also strategize, known, and leverage the donations to maximize chance of incentive prizes. Some of you already figured this out, and some of you probably afterwards thought, I should have done it that way. So we have different incentives and prizes that, the closest to midnight, or the first one to raise $1,000, the closest to 1954, which was our founding year. The donor that came from the furthest, which we had from New Zealand. If you have a couple of donors that have said, I'm going to give you this amount of money, you can strategize it so that you could leverage it for more. That's also the same as if you have a donor that's going to make a donation anyway, why not talk to them about making it on NEPA Gives Day? Or if they're going to give you $1,000, ask them if they'd be interested in making it a match. So you're already having that $1,000. You could then put it on social media through e-blasts and say, the first 50 gifts of $20 are going to be matched. So it will give people a way to think their dollar is going further, in that every dollar is matched for an hour or up to a certain amount. And that can be done in GiveGab. So you don't have to keep track of that. You don't have to watch it. We'll help you set those parameters up when we get closer. And then the last one is, it has the potential to replace events with high expenditures. Jesse Argot from NeighborWorks has said this to me, that, last year when you have events with high overhead, to see the profit made from the input that it took them to do NEPA Gives was really eye-opening to them. They didn't have to rent a hall, they didn't have to get a DJ, they didn't have to get catering. It was really more of, the manpower behind it, which is just as important as the dollars. But these giving days have the potential to replace those. And then these are just a couple of examples of organizations who have maximized their input. So as we mentioned, Gretchen Mackey, she strategized very well with the gifts they knew they were coming in, and it enabled them to raise $41,000. Countryside Conservancy did a great job raising just over $20,000 here. And they harnessed some current donors. So they had donors that they knew were going to give anyway, and really talked to them about, the locality and philanthropy of giving on NEPA Gives. NeighborWorks, as I mentioned, Jesse and his team did a great job overall, but one thing he said he worked with is his board and volunteers. They did receive the donation from the furthest away, I think, or they were second, because we actually had to Google mileage it out, but they had called one of their past Vistas and asked them to donate, which is great. Scranton Fringe Festival did a wonderful job of really capitalizing on social media, of doing some lives, of partnerships, of collaboration. They collaborated with Black Scranton, I think the Cultural Center as well. So these are just some organizations, as you start to really, the wheels in your head start going of, what can we do? How can we do it? These are some organizations that really harnessed, probably a multitude of ideas, but what stuck out to us on how they were able to amplify their impact. So 2021, it's year 2. We're going bigger and better. We have a goal of raising over $1 million in one day. I think we can do it. We are NEPA, we are strong. We raised $500,000 last year. We are aiming to have 250 participating organizations. So ideally we had 167. We'll take them all. If we go 300, we go 300. But our goal as a NEPA team is to engage 250 organizations. We have some new learning opportunities. Just as 2020 was a learning year for many organizations, it was a learning year for us too. So we've taken the time to really develop some supports for you all to help you in coming into 2021 without knowing necessarily what post-COVID looks like. And then we have some new incentives, which we'll be talking about shortly. And that's some of the most exciting things. As I mentioned, we were really ramping up our training. And with the support of NCAC, we'll be able to offer some, experts, some local people, some champion dropping calls, as you see below. This is just a very, high level thought of how we could organize what we talk about each month. So there'll be a monthly call that you can jump on or not. It will be recorded. We'll be doing on-demand trainings. So there'll be smaller modules in between that you can go on NEPA Gives and watch and pace on your own to learn about what we're going to talk about. So you can come and say, I have this question, or I need help with this. It will also be complementary to a toolkit that we are developing internally, so that, if you have a committee, let's say, to help support NEPA Gives, you'll be able to use it in guiding them how to develop a great strategy. These are the, as we're drilling down per se, the training topics that are in each of those monthly times. And Maggie, I don't know if you can share or pull up the poll on the training topics, or if I need to do that, but we wanted to get your opinion. For those that were with us last year, or for some of you that watched as a bystander, we want to hear from you what your training topics of interest are. Select multiple, up to 3 if you would, so we know where we need to harness our energy. And also, I call it calling in the big guns of GiveGab. They will be more than happy to do a training with us. So I want to make sure we maximize their usage, our usage of them. So I'll just give another minute for you guys to think about that, and then submit it. Okay. Exciting incentives. I know a lot of us, including our team at SAF, I don't think realized how exciting and invigorating all of this would be. So, late into 10 o'clock at night, we were like, we need another incentive. So, we came up with this one, the 10 at 10. So to really drive unique donors to your organizations, we had said the most amount of unique donors between 10 p.m. and 10:10 with a donation of over $10 would win $1,000. The Ritz Foundation did. Though there were a multitude of exciting incentives, we look to grow. So if you guys have some that you've seen otherwise or with colleagues, feel free to share those in our comments, because we always like to hear and learn from you, which is one thing that we have done with this regional pool. So the regional pool is every single organization in every single county is eligible has the same opportunity and same chance of winning a prize. It's almost like an equitability prize. So every donation counts the same, whether it's $10, it's $1,000, whether your organization had 10,000 donations or 1, the chances are all the same. We're excited about really pooling some of our resources together to show not only NEPA, but PA and the world that we are a region that can come together. Laura, do you have, or any of our partners, about incentives?
Sure, I'll just pop in first. One of the things that's Vivian mentioned that's unique this year is this regional giving pool, where each partner is contributing in to make sure that the reach is broad, that nonprofits in every county have access. And the equitability piece is new. We're taking that from feedback that we heard. I'm pretty excited to announce that I just learned that we already have a start to the NEPA Regional Gives pool, and that's a $10,000 gift from the Schwartz Mack Foundation to kick that off. So I think that's going to be really exciting to start to see how this pool grows. And that's across the board. All counties have equal access to that. So what's interesting is, you know, like Vivian mentioned, some of the incentives will be performance-based. Maybe organization in Luzerne County has the most donors, a large organization or a medium organization or small, depending on how Luzerne County Community Foundation wants to set that. Maybe Scranton Area Foundation will do something based on the most raised by a small organization, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be different pools of prizes available for each county. But this NEPA Regional Gives pool really creates an equal level of access for nonprofits from every county, no matter of the size of the community foundation in that county. So our goal is to really build up these incentives and these matches so that there's even more of a reason for people to give to your nonprofit. But one of the things that's important to remember is all of that is really important, but at the same point, thinking creatively and strategically about how you can use your donors or your board to incentivize people to give is really important. So, you know, for example, in some cases, people will have a donor that would say, okay, I'll match the first 500 raised or the first 1,000. So those are creative things that we'll talk about a lot more in our trainings. But I think that this regional giving pool, with every foundation contributing into it and raising money for that, is really going to make a unique impact this year.
Thanks, Laura. As I shared, GiveGab is our platform that we utilize. So in our team meeting with GiveGab, they are rolling out with a new layout per se. The back end will still be the same. You all will still put the same information in. Organizations that did participate in 2020 can just copy over to 2021 and then make changes as needed. Though this day is all about you, so we want to make sure that we show you what the current one, which is what was used in 2020, which we can still use, and then what the new one would be in 2021. We have the ability to choose this year since it is new to GiveGab. So I'm going to show you each one.
Vivian, I have to pause you for just one moment, just because we are sharing the poll results right now. I know we're going to be doing a poll open about the new or the old, I shouldn't say old, the current or the new, but maybe before that, you might want to just touch on the results really quick because our friends that are streaming on YouTube aren't able to see the results.
Sure. Can you pull them up again? I exited out when it popped up on my screen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to let everybody know, for future trainings or webinars, we'll absolutely have access beyond the number that we do. We apologize that we don't have access on this on Zoom. We thought we had more as an organization, so it's a surprise to us, but next time that won't happen. Everybody will be able to get on.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, it's a problem, but it shows that everybody is interested and engaged. So the training topics that were most important to you all, number one was social media strategies. So that's great. You know, our friends at NCAC, I'm not putting them on the spot, but I'm sure they'll be able to help us with some experts to pull in and really help you all with, like I said, NEPA Gives, along with past NEPA Gives, to utilize it in your own organizations. Creative engagement ideas, that was the next highest one. And I've done some extensive research on other giving days throughout the country. So I'd be more than happy to share those, along with pulling in some of our national partners that would be more than willing to help us too. Engaging your board was also high up there. They're not in order of percentages, so I apologize. But after creative engagement ideas, matches and challenges, which is something I think we had to go through year one to realize that here's how we do this, here's how we can help nonprofits, here's how we can harness the dollars that we receive from our funders to pass along to you all. So that will definitely be one. I'm thinking that will probably be one from GiveGab, as they have well over, I believe, 200 giving days that they support. So to hear from them will be wonderful. Engaging your board, as I mentioned, there are specific webinar modules that we'll be posting that you'll be able to use to engage your board with, which will be exciting. You guys can have those on demand, so you can watch them on your own, watch them with your staff, even with your board chair, to help get the board involved. And then peer-to-peer fundraising as well. It's something on GiveGab that I don't think a lot of people realized how to harness last year. So we definitely will be focusing on some peer-to-peer ideas and peer-to-peer supports for you all. So thank you all for filling that out and giving us a path to what we can support you guys with. Now, Maggie, can you see my screen that I'm sharing with Equines for Freedom?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the old one. So if you went on NEPA Gives last year, this is what the profile looked like. So you were able to, put set donations that people could give. They could also choose their own, but this was kind of a way that people can learn what $50 went to, what $150 went to. You're able to put your own mission statement YouTube here. It kind of gives you a running tally of recent donors, of people who have fundraisers, peer-to-peer wise. And then it also allows you to share your mission or share a story, an impact story right here. And then also some volunteer opportunities you can put on there. So that is what it currently looks like and what you all that have participated last year saw. Then, sorry. And then this one is the new one. So it kind of reminds me of your Facebook profile, right? So you have this little picture here. Front and center is donate to fundraise, just the general buttons. So people can just hit donate, or they could hit fundraise to create a peer-to-peer fundraiser. You have your bar right here to show, your thermometer of your goal. And then it has your own amounts. So you can put, again, as the last one did, put in specific amounts that support different things you have in your organization. Then right here is almost like a toolbar. So if you guys are doing matches, want to see recent donors, want to look at our story, it brings you right to those different features. And you don't have to have them all. So if you were just doing recent donors and our story, they would be, right in the middle of that. And then front and center is your YouTube video. And then below that is where you would, your impact story or your mission would be. And then below at the bottom is really what the change is. They push all the fundraisers and recent donors to the bottom. So basically you are looking more at what you're raising right up front. So I'll go back to this one. This is the old one. And I apologize if I'm scroll happy here, but. And this was option 2, the new one. So Maggie, if you can share that poll, and for our viewers on YouTube, if you would like, at the end, my email is up, and if you have a preference, since you cannot vote on this poll, please email me, as we will let you all know, as it will be decided by you guys, because you guys have to use it.
We're also reviewing the comment section as well on YouTube, so you can also comment if you prefer the current or the new version. And we are going to talk about there's a couple of questions around the fundraising what a peer-to-peer fundraiser is and what that fundraiser button is. So we will explain that a little bit further. And there was also a request to show what the homepage looks like again. So if you can do that really quick, what NEPA Gives homepage is. No, another question if it says Giving Tuesday. No, it's just that fundraiser that Vivian showed was being held on Giving Tuesday. So that was that graphic on their page. If you can switch back to that really quick, Vivian. That particular fundraiser was on Giving Tuesday. Scroll all the way to the top on that. So that image was one that they selected, right? So that was that Habitat for Humanity selected that image. You would have your own image that you'd be able to put there, and then, you know, have your logo in the smaller box. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and launch the polling. And again, if you are viewing this on YouTube, you can enter into the chat, or you can email Vivian with your preference. And we will try to do our best to go with what the majority feels is the best design. Either way, you know, it's achieving the same things. And we'll also mention, and I'm sorry for reiterating, on the back end, as you as organizations, what you enter and how you enter, it's all going to be the same. It's just what the public sees when it actually gets displayed out. So what you enter into YouTube and what you see there, or excuse me, not YouTube, what you see on your page when you're going to GiveGab to view the information, that will all be the same. While they're letting the poll go, I will just jump in real quick and explain a little bit deeper the peer-to-peer fundraising, because I'm not sure, Vivian, if we had that specifically carved out. It's a good time to mention it. So peer-to-peer fundraising is kind of similar to what you might see historically in, like, if you had participated in like a Race for the Cure or similar, where you would have your own fundraising page and you have set your own personal fundraising goal as an individual, and you would fundraise to your, you know, your family, your friends, your contacts. So there can be a number of fundraisers for your organization. So for instance, some organizations, each one of their board members was a fundraiser for their organization for NEPA Gives, and each board member had set their own goals, and each board member would have their own fundraising page that was kind of like a sub page of the your main organization page. And I think we had one, Equines for Freedom, I believe, had some fundraisers. Vivian, do you want to pull their page back up so people can see what that looks like? We only have 68% of the vote in right now, so we'll give that another minute as well to go through. So now, yeah, you can see that there was fundraisers here. So those individuals, those were the top fundraisers for Equines for Freedom. They were the ones that, so that the amounts next to their name is how much they as an individual on their page was able to raise. Vivian, if you can click maybe into Ryan's so he could see what his fundraising page looks like. All right, so a lot of the information is mirrored here from what was on the organization's page. If you can scroll to the top. It has in here, he doesn't have a very in-depth description, but where it says, I support this organization's mission, want to have a greater impact. When they create their fundraising page, they're able to say why this cause is important to them. So they can have deep information, detailed information in there as well. So they have a number of options that they have to create a fundraising page. And technically anybody would be able to create a fundraising page for your organization by clicking on that fundraise button. Okay, we haven't seen the numbers change drastically on the poll, so I'm going to end that and share the results. It looks like, let's see, almost a 70-30 split on wanting the new design versus the old design. So I think, you know, unless we get an overwhelming response to the contrary, we'll probably go with the newer design than for the new year. And again, that's not going to change if you were participating last year. If you wanted to like when you're looking at your profile, the information you provide is not going to change. It's just going to be ordered a little differently on your page.
Great, thanks, Maggie. So what's next, right? I want to thank you all for bearing with us as we, like Laura had mentioned, we had an overwhelming response, well over 200 people interested in this webinar training, and then my own technical difficulties. So I thank you for all, staying on this late. But what's next? The email that you registered with will follow up with these slides. And also, friendly emails on behalf of NEPA Gives. If you have a different one you'd like to submit, the last slide will have my email, so feel free to email me. Ideally, we will have this training on nepagives.org within the next couple of days, and that will go out when the slides go out, so you all will be notified when that is up. Our registration for NEPA Gives, which means you can register your organization to participate, will be February 9th. And I'm not sure if we've talked about this, Maggie, and we could always revert back to it after about the registration fee that will probably be the same as last year, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yep, it is a $20 registration fee that just assures your spot, and those funds go to help offset the costs to the foundations, particularly the GiveGab platform, as well as marketing fees. So it goes directly right back into NEPA Gives efforts.
Great, thank you. And then we'll have our Getting Ready for NEPA Gives, which will, in depth go into what your GiveGab site looks like. If you have any questions in that regards on February 16th at noon, you'll get sick and tired of seeing my name in your inbox, so be prepared. And that's when, you guys have any questions, we'll go over the remainder of the trainings that are laid out ahead of NEPA Gives, which will be accompanied by a toolkit that will be sent with your registration. So as I mentioned, if you want to engage a committee or engage a champion or some of your volunteers, it will be a guide that will kind of help you navigate how to prepare for NEPA Gives. And then lastly, questions and answers. I wanted to get here. I know we're at the end of our time, but we'll be more than happy to answer some questions here. We'll stay on. You'll see here to the right with the yellow highlighting is what we call the GiveGab button. So when you are on nepagives.org, when you are doing your profile, if you have a question specific to the landing page and the web-based platform, we will do our best to answer them for you. Though we are not experts in GiveGab, so we suggest that you find this nifty blue button in the bottom right of the page, and GiveGab is wonderful. Their support team has been outstanding, and they'd be more than willing to help you. If it's a question related to logistics of the event, feel free to email me below or call my phone number there. One of the questions that was raised that that I wanted to mention was the disbursement. So June 4th at midnight comes, we're over. Our team usually needs a day or two to make sure that all the incentives that you so graciously won are distributed properly, are given to the right organizations, are added to your totals. This past year being year one and working with GiveGab for the first time, it took a little bit longer to understand and be able to process it through their system. I understand, we're June 4th, so it's the end of some fiscal years relatively soon. So this year, we're hoping that, you all will have your disbursement before June 30th. We'll work our hardest to, but it is a process that, our team wants to double check, make sure everything is distributed to the right organizations. Then we have to go to GiveGab and tell them We give them a report, and then they put it through their checks and balances to make sure, there was no bugs or anything on their end. And then it gets dispersed back to everybody in NEPA. So that usually takes, 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm hoping, and I will work my hardest, if you know me, I don't sleep much. So we will try our hardest to make sure you get them before June 30th with the process in place.
And we're also going to be working our hardest on incentives. And that was another question about, how much advance notice of incentives will you have before NEPA Gives Day? And our goal is to get them out as early as possible. As soon as the site goes live, February 9th, we'll start to upload incentives. Now, what happens is each foundation and each partner will continue to be getting incentives, raising those funds, getting access to those funds from February 9th up through the day of NEPA Gives. So we'll all try to get what we can as early as possible, and they will be uploaded along the way. But be aware that incentives could pop up as late as June 3rd. You never know when a generous donor is going to come in and say they want to support an initiative. So a best recommendation we can give is like the NEPA Gives Facebook page. There's one NEPA Gives Facebook page, like that page, follow along, and also check back when you can on the site to check for new incentives. But we'll keep that information updated on the Facebook page. But know that our goal is to get the incentives up as early as possible so you can plan and strategize.
Thanks, Laura.
February 9th, the significance, that's the day that the site goes live, right? That's the day we send out the link. That we had a question on that. So I'm just saying that's the significance of that day.
Yeah, otherwise February 9th has no other significance, and that's the earliest that we'll have everything ready to go for you. There's a lot that happens on the back end with GiveGab. So you want to make sure that you do have things ready to go, but you obviously will have a lot of time, obviously, between February 9th and June 4th. But we do certainly encourage you to hit the ground running if you're able to. And I saw that there's also a question, Laura, about the timing of the disbursements.
Yeah, and I think Vivian kind of tried to hit on the timing of the disbursements from our end and how we're going to work to turn it around faster due to this is our second year, but we know that GiveGab is going to be play a role in some of that too, right? So.
Yeah, so we do just very much ask for your patience. We will do what we're able to factor in for the end of the year. We do should have a general idea. I know typically we get you might want to talk to your accountant about how you can maybe record it for the year and just show the donations in transit. I know sometimes that's sometimes year-end donations can be recorded as such. I'm not an accountant, so certainly talk to your accountant, but we will do our best on that front.
There's another question about, maybe there's a person from an organization and a volunteer that both want to work on an account page. So we have a question about the logistics of that, whether two people can get the emails, work on the account. I'm assuming yes, two people can absolutely do that. We may have to give some guidance on it though.
Yeah, so if you want, two people to stay updated on NEPA Gives information, again, Laura made a great suggestion of liking the Facebook page, but as many people can work on it. So if you see my email there, if you're registered on this webinar, but it's someone else you'd like to include, just send me an email. I believe there is an option on the GiveGab when you fill out your information to have multiple people listed. I'm not sure what the back end for an organization looks like. I'll be prepared for February 16th to answer those questions. But as Maggie said, February 9th is really when you guys can get in there. So it's not giving you access on May 5th saying, okay, you have 4 weeks to, get your profile up. So, take all the time. It's really significant on the back end to you all, the participating organizations. So your donors and Supporters will not know about that necessarily because it has no significance to them except June 4th when you want them to make donations. So yes, as many people as you want can be included. Were there any other questions that we saw? And I want to say thank you to our team at SAF. I enjoy working with you all, and this has been a team effort to manage the chat, manage the Q&A, and YouTube. So it's been an eventful webinar. So thank you to the team that I get to work with every day.
Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, we apologize. We're gone a little bit over as we work through some of our technical difficulties. It wouldn't be a large webinar with lots of information without having some technical challenges. So there was a question about, what's important to have, because the site's going live. Yes, the site will be live and available to the public, although, we certainly don't expect organizations to have everything on their page ready to go by February 9th. It's not necessarily something that is going to be, heavily publicized out there beyond our nonprofits on February 9th. I would say, you're better off making sure that maybe in May or mid-May, having your page ready to go, because that's when we'll be doing more publicity to the public about what they're going to be viewing. So it's not to say that the public couldn't go in and look, they could, but I don't think there's any expectation that the pages will be fully fleshed out on June 9th. So, certainly, take a look, hop in as early as possible, because you'll want to make sure that you're getting a good head start on your efforts. But, we will not be heavily publicizing February 9th out to the community, because we know that it'll take some time for you all to build your pages out and prepare accordingly.
But if I were to give personal advice, I'd say try to aim for April. You could do May, but I'd say if you could get it earlier, because people might get excited, they might start to look, and you might want to capitalize on that. So.
Agreed. Yeah. I would say mid-May is probably it's not a hour deadline. I would make it for, that's the date that, for sure people are going to be in there looking. You're going to want to make sure that it's looking the way you want it to for June 4th by then. But yeah, I agree, Laura. I would say April is probably the, to most likely capitalize.
Yeah, and I pulled this up so that, if people do start, seeing NEPA Gives, because obviously everybody's starting to plan, and you'll probably talk with family and friends. When they go to nepagives.org, this is what they will see. So they won't necessarily see your page first. So this is what will go live as well on February 9th. So it will be 2021 information, where right now what you're seeing is the outcome and results of 2020. So that will be updated. This leaderboard will be gone, since, we're starting new for 2021. So you won't be able to see the organizations. I believe, I can't see behind my share, but there is a search option up here per se, that if someone wants to say, let me see if my organization that I support is already a NEPA Gives organization, they could do that. But people who are guided to this will just see the general NEPA Gives 2021 information.
Great point, Vivian.
And again, on the bottom right is the little, Give Gab chat bubble. So they're wonderful. You send a message here, and then as you can see here, you'll get a respond back, and then you'll be able to have a conversation with that person. Many times it's literally under 10 minutes most times. They are very efficient and work fast, just like all of our teams do.
There was a question reminder about when the deadline is to register. So we are opening on February 9th. And Vivian, can you confirm what the last date of registration would be?
I would say May 24th. Give Gab likes about 10 days of lockdown, so they could flush out anything. They could work their magic on the back end so that when we go live, you know, we don't have any technical difficulties, if you would.
So several months in order to get your registration in.
And we will send reminders. So you'll, like I said before, you'll be tired of seeing my name. You know, we'll send you reminders. If you registered last year, you'll know that, if I'm not mistaken, I'm speaking off, you know, the top of my head. You have to be a 501c3, you have to have a tax ID number. And I think if Dana's still on there, because she worked on this with me, you have to have one other thing to be able to accept donations. Oh, you have to be able to have a linked checking account or way to have it electronically transferred to you after NEPA Gives.
I'll bring up too, you know, most of the participants are going to be 501c3s, but there are some that partner with other organizations,
Yes.
fiscal sponsors. That's perfect to do as well. Some foundations have individual charitable funds that will be using this to raise money, so that's possible as well. But overwhelmingly, most will be 501c3s. We don't want to forget to thank our community foundation partners. Each of us play an important role in making sure that the nonprofits in our counties are successful. So I'm not sure if there's any more questions, but this will not be, as Vivian said, the last that you will hear of us. We're going to keep this going so we can all be successful. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to join with us. We hope that you all become a part of NEPA Gives 2021.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.